I cannot guarantee, I can't stand here and make a guarantee, but I cannot for the life of me imagine why we would not be offering funding to Karnes County to move on to the next phase.
As much as I respect Mr. Yauer's opinion, I know he's been a contractor for years, you cannot ignore the fact that she has an engineering report. And the engineering report, Mr. Fisher said at the last meeting, includes your grade shots, okay? The engineers, which you've admitted you are not an engineer, you're not an architect, has stated that that wing must come off to preserve this building. How can you ignore that? It's a fact. And it's right in the engineer's report. And if you don't believe it, get a copy of the report and read it.
Mr. O'Brien, I want to point out something to you, because I'm not sitting up here and I don't want anybody to think that we're not trying to do what we're trying to do. What we're trying to point out is we want to make those decisions in the best way possible. And a while ago, Mr. Hummel admitted that he didn't see that, and Mr. Gonzalez admitted he didn't see it. My intent was not facetious at all. My intent is we want to see it. You know what I'm saying? And if Mr. Hummel tells me he can't see it, and Mr. Gonzalez, and I have a great respect for their decisions, and I mean, we talk all the time, and we work together, but if they made a decision and they didn't see anything, I don't think that's a sound decision. So now we're asking to see it. And I think that that is something that we cannot just walk around blindly making decisions. We would never do that. I would never do that to you. As a judge, you know, we're all on the same team now, regardless of where we were 3 months ago. We're all on the same team now. And I would not ever make a decision for you without educating myself. And if I didn't educate myself, and if somebody prior to me did not educate themselves and it made bad decisions, that happened back then. But I don't think we should be shot down for wanting to educate ourselves. Because the decisions we have to make are for you. Regardless of whether we're engineers or whatever we are, it's for you.
Don't you have that in writing that you brought with you tonight?
And what the bad part is we have a couple of them in writing. And some of them don't say the same things.
There's definitely a lot of information.
I mean, I think you can get
that's
it
been
together,
written,
whoever,
that's been discussed, that's been prepared, and we're glad to meet with the commissioner.
I mean, this is not about feuding. It's about
in this
educating ourselves
setting,
to make a decision.
or in a one-on-one meeting, so that you can directly ask the questions of the structural engineer. We can walk the building. We can bring everything to bear in the way of background that we have.
Judge, I say that I commend them for doing this, and everybody has a right to ask questions and have their views and their sides, but you don't understand how valuable this is if you haven't been attending the meeting. Because the reason the building's the way it is next door, none of the men, I stood right in front of the commissioner court and asked every one of our commissioners if they had seen the plans for that annex building, and none of them had seen the plans. They voted on it, it went through, and not one single one of your commissioners had ever even looked at the plans and knew what they were building. So, thank you.
And Judge, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I think that's what we've all been so concerned about. If it would have been worded from the beginning, postpone until we get more information. I think I talked to all 4 commissioners, and that's what I asked them to do. But from the beginning, it was canceled. And that's what we're so concerned about.
That was my bad wording, and I apologize.
Okay, so canceling.
I make a lot of errors here in a second, so I have something else to share with you.
Canceling just worried all of us, because we've gone for 10 years, 12 years, and these people are here to help us, not for us to be overly critical of. You know, they've worked very hard alongside of us, and I know they're here to help y'all gather the information that's not at your fingertips.
But you know, if you make an uninformed decision, I don't care what that decision is, it's a bad decision.
You're
An
right.
uninformed decision is a bad decision.
And that's the best thing I've heard tonight.
Well, I want to tell you something. This is the first time, and I've been coming since 2006, last of 2006. The judge never responded to an individual.
Not like that.
Not without being carried out.
That's right. That's worked out.
Not back there, though.
Because I gotta be back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I want to make sure we get through. I want to sleep between now and then. I actually have to be back at 8, but they expect me to report by 9.
I want to answer a question that's been asked before. I want to answer Sean first. I have a great respect for you, and you have respect for me as Bill. We work together quite a bit. I recommend you to someone today to do a job, in fact. But anyway, to answer your question, I want to see the report, and I want to see what it says, and I want to know how they determine that. My question is, did they determine that to restore this back to 1896 instead of 1924? Or is it because of the structural report that I can see? You understand where I am?
Yes, sir.
Well, and I want to say something too. Regardless of how you feel about the decisions we make or what we do, you're my fellow citizens and I care about you. I mean, whether we agree or whether we disagree, I care about you. And I mean, I have heard stuff that, you know, when we're trying to create a turmoil, we're trying to create an upheaval, we were even compared to countries in riots. I would not riot with a single one of you people. There's not enough money out there to make me riot with any of you. I respect your opinions and I value your opinions. And no matter how you feel about what decision I make, when you walk out that door and we walk out that door, we're fellow citizens. And you're going to be my fellow citizen whether you want to or not, because that's just how I feel about you.
Are you gonna leave her a master plan?
I wasn't prepared to give mine up tonight, but we're glad to make a copy if one can't be located.
I think we ought to get started on it as soon as we could to see where it's at.
Again, we've got, and all the grant applications and all the construction documents. Could someone just contact me and let me know what documentation you're missing? I'll be glad to provide it.
Thank you, Sharon. I apologize. There's another hand up, and Mr. O'Brien kept standing up with his hand up. Mr. Deskin, I'm sorry. I apologize to you for overlooking you. You know I would do that intentionally. So he's talking to you. Yes, he's talking to you.
I had a question about the courthouse that I addressed during the election, and it was never answered by any of the contestants. And then I passed the question to the countywide, and it was never addressed by the contestants. And so since the subject matter expert is here tonight, I would like to address the question to you. Does Karnes County Commissioner Court have a letter filed in the county clerk's office from the Texas Historical Commission, Austin, that clearly delineates, are we or are we not a historical courthouse under the provisions of the Texas Historical Courthouse Commission? If we are so designated, what amount of money and timelines can be expected for renovation? If we are not so designated, how will we raise monies, and in what amount to renovate the courthouse, since no monies will be forthcoming from the Texas Historical Society? The question remains, does our courthouse meet the provisions of the Texas Historical Commission as a historical courthouse, and thus, are we or are we not a historical courthouse? Do we have letter verification?
You are a historic courthouse.
Do we have letter
More than
verification?
in more than just one way. In about 5 different ways, the building is designated as a historic building. Technically in Texas, any courthouse that's over 50 years old is considered to have historical significance. So even before the Karnes County Courthouse was placed on the National Register of Historic Places and was designated as a recorded Texas historic landmark or designated as a state archaeological landmark, those are all the historic designations that it has. And yes, we have letters that justify each of those historic designations. And on the basis of the building being considered a historic courthouse, Karnes County was eligible to apply for grant funding, to submit a master plan, to receive a grant award, etc. So all that has transpired is in recognition of this building as a historic courthouse.
But he keeps asking me, is there some type of letter of verification? Because this is not the first time he's asked me. I don't know. So is there a letter of verification that's supposed to be followed? Is this something that exists? Is it supposed to be followed in the county clerk's office?
We usually recognize the building as a historic courthouse when asked. So there's not a generic letter, but there's several letters that talk about the building's historic designation. And as I said, it wouldn't be in our program if it wasn't recognized as a historic courthouse.
Can you send us a letter?
Yes.
You have a marker designation.
Yes.
copies of that.
Yes, the recorded Texas Historical Landmark Designation, State Archaeological Landmark Designation, yes. You can send you.
But the question was, is it in writing? That's the question.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's on our website.
Several years ago, our county requested Texas Historical Commission grant money for courthouse renovation, and we were denied funds. I don't know how many years ago that was, but we were denied funds. And the reason was our courthouse was not a historical courthouse. Then Alger Kendall got involved and we received a grant. How could we not receive a grant, then receive a grant, if we are not a historical courthouse, or maybe we are, you said we are. At any rate, for the purpose of this meeting, I would hope that we would be afforded the opportunity, we as the citizens of this county, be afforded the opportunity to vote on whether we want to renovate, what it is we want to do with this courthouse. And somebody's going to say, well, we have our representatives. Yes, we do. And we had our representatives, and we ended up with that thing over there. And we voted, if you recall, and 3 of those people are gone. And we have another election coming. So I would hope that the court would entertain the idea of letting the citizens vote. Your purpose is to spend our tax money. Our purpose is to pay. Let us vote. It's the American way.
The actual historical marker was processed through Mr. Tonhoff's time here in getting the first historical marker on the original courthouse. Does not take care of the additional wings. It is the additional courthouse which has, the original courthouse has, and that was under Mr. Tonhoff. So maybe someone put it in before we actually had money.